The triple pillars of new economic policy are liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization refers to removal or relaxation of governmental restrictions in all stages in industry, delicensing, decontrol, deregulation, subsidies, incentives, and greater role for financial institutions on the various facets of liberalization. Privatization means transfer of ownership and management of enterprises from public sector to private sector. Denationalization, disinvestment, and opening exclusive public sector enterprises to private sector are the gateways to privatization. Globalization refers to the integration of the domestic economy with the rest of the world. Import liberalization through reduction of tariff and non-tariff barriers, opening the doors to foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment or FPI are some of the measures of towards globalization. Arguments in favor of LPG liberalization was necessitated because various licensing policies were said to be deterring the growth of the economy. Privatization was necessitated because of the belief that the private sector was not given enough opportunities to earn more. Globalization was necessitated because today a developed country can grow without the help of the underdeveloped countries. Natural and human resources of the developing countries are exploited by the developed countries, and developing countries are used as market for the finished goods of the developed countries. The surplus capital of the developed countries are invested in backward economies. Absolute and outdated absolute and outdated technologies of the developed countries can be easily sold to poor underdeveloped countries. Ultimately, the rice countries can grow further at the cost of developing economies. Liberalization measures, when effectively enforced, favor an unrestricted entry of foreign companies in the domestic economy. Such an entry prevents the growth of the local manufacturers. Privatization measures favor the continuance of the monopoly power. Only the powerful people can sustain individual business markets. Social justice cannot be easily established and maintained, and as a result, the disparities tend to widen among people and among regions. As globalization measures tend to integrate all economies of the world and bringing them all under one umbrella, they pave the way for redistribution of economic power at the world level. Only the already well-developed countries are favored in this process, and the welfare of the less developed countries will be neglected. The economic risks of the developed countries are easily spread to the developing countries through trade. The following are the major changes after 1991. Foreign exchange reserves started rising. There was a rapid industrialization. The pattern of consumption started improving. Infrastructure facilities such as express highways, metro rails, flyovers, and airports started expanding, but the local people were thrown away. The benefits of this growth in some sectors have not reached the marginalized sections of the community. Moreover, the process of development has generated serious social, economic, political, demographic, and ecological issues and challenges. Development brings benefits, but which section gets this benefit depends on socio-economic structure of this society. Despite all these initiatives in the Indian economy, a large section of the people of India continue to face the basic economic problems such as poverty, unemployment, discrimination, social exclusion, deprivation, food for healthcare, rising inflation, agricultural stagnation, food insecurity, and labor migration. However, for these problems, government policies alone cannot be blamed. License investment means selling of government securities of public sector undertakings to other public sector units or private sectors or banks. This process has not been fully implemented. According to Indian Monetary Fund World Economic Outlook, October 2016 GDP nominal for India in 2016 at current prices was to $2,251 billion. India contributed 2.99% of total India world's GDP in exchange rate. Um, India shared 17.5% of the total world population and 2.4% of the world surface area. India is now the seventh largest economy of the world in 2016. India was at third position after China and Japan among the Asian countries. India shared 8.50% of the total Asia's GDP in 2016. The Prime Minister of India announced the new industrial policy on July 24, 1991. The new policy radically liberalized the industrial policy itself and deregulated the industrial sector substantially. The primary objectives of industrial policy were to promote major industries from cultures of bureaucrats to abolish restrictions on foreign direct investment, to liberate the indigenous enterprise from the restrictions of MRTP Act, to maintain a sustained growth in productivity and employment, and also to achieve international competitiveness. Important initiatives by the government towards industrial policy are industrial delicensing, dereservation of the industrial sector, public sector policy, abolition of MRTP Act, foreign investment policy, and foreign technology policy. Before 1991, industrial licensing for all communities. After 1991, licensing restricted to alcohol, drugs, etc. Before, private sector not allowed in many industries. Now only defense, energy, railway for public sector scale privatization disinvestment. Before, controls in price fixation and distribution. Now market allowed to determine prices. The Prime Minister of India announced a new industrial policy on July 24, 1991. The new policy radically liberalized the industrial policy and deregulated the industrial sector substantially. The most important objective of the industrial policy of 1991 was the end of the industrial licensing or the license raj or red tapeism. Under the industrial licensing policies, private sector was had to secure licenses to start an industry. Dereservation of the industrial sector. Previously, public sector was given reservation, especially in the capital goods and key industries. Under the industrial deregulation, most of the private industrial sectors were opened to the private sector as well. Only three sectors: atomic energy, mining, and railways will continue as reserved for public sector. All other sectors have been opened for private sector. Reforms related to public sector were aimed at enhancing efficiency and competitiveness of the sector. Government has identified the strategic and private priority areas for the public sector concentrate. Abolition of MRTP Act. New Industrial Policy of 1991 has amended the Monopoly and Restricted Trade Practices Act in 2010. The Competition Commission has emerged as the watchdog in monitoring the competitive prices in the economy. Foreign investment policy. Another major feature of economic reform was the red carpet welcome to welcome foreign investment and foreign technology. Foreign investment including FDI and FPI were allowed. In 1991, the government announced a specified list of high technology and investment priority projects. FDI up to 51% foreign equity. The limit was raised to 74% and subsequently to 100% for many of these industries. Moreover, many new industries have been added to the list over the years. Foreign Investment Promotion Board (FIBB) has been to set up the negotiate with international firms and approve foreign direct investment in select areas. Impact of NPG on on the agriculture sector reforms. Indian economy has achieved remarkable rate of growth in industry and service sector. However, this growth process bypassed the agriculture sector, which showed sharp deceleration in the growth rate, 3.62% during 1984-85, and the sector has yielded wide variations in yield and productivity, and there was a shift towards cash crop cultivation. Moreover, agriculture indebtedness pushing several farming households into poverty, and some of them resorted to extreme measures like suicides. Agriculture in India is highly prone to risk and droughts and floods. For this purpose, the Government of India introduced many agriculture schemes throughout the country. The Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Prime Minister's crop insurance scheme, was launched on 18th February 2016. It envisages a uniform premium of only 2% to be paid by farmers for kharif crops and 1.5% for rabi crops. The premium for annual commercial and horticultural crops will be 5%. Cold storage. India is the largest producer of foods and second largest producer of vegetables in the world. In spite of that, per capita available of fruits and vegetables is quite low because of post-harvest losses, which account for about 25% to 30% of production. Besides, quality of a sizable quantity of produce also deteriorates by the time it reaches the consumer. Most of the problems relating to the marketing of fruits and vegetables can be traced to their perishability. Perishability is responsible for high marketing goods, price fluctuations, and similar problems. In order to overcome this constraint, Government of India and the Ministry of Agriculture promulgated an order known as Cold Storage Order 1964 under Section 3 of the Essential Commodity Tax Act 1955. However, the cold storage facility is still very poor and highly inadequate.